ahead and get started on our webinar for today, which is the zero-click search engine optimization tips, tricks, and techniques. Here's today's agenda. We're going to be talking about what are zero-click searches, some tips and strategies for zero-click search. Then we'll get into targeting featured snippets. We'll look at rich snippets and direct answers, local SEO and zero-click searches, optimizing knowledge panels for zero-click searches, using Schema for better zero-click potential, and of course, content's still king, but user intent is queen. We're going to talk about diversifying your digital presence, some additional tips that aren't really related but still important, some useful tools and resources that you guys can use to help out with some of the stuff that we're going to be covering today. And then we'll wrap it up with some conclusions and some additional resources that I've gathered for you guys. So let's talk, what are zero-click search? Let's get just the basics here, right? So a zero-click search refers to the search engine result that satisfies your query, a user's query, directly on that search engine result page, the SERP, as we call it. And by doing that, the searcher doesn't need to click through to a website to find the information they're seeking, right? They get the information right on the search results page. And thereby we call it a zero-click search because there's no clicking going on. You ask Google for something and they've responded with the information that you find valuable enough to not need to click through. This can often happen with queries that can be answered with brief facts, with definitions, local business information, or other types of public data. And the rise of these zero-click searches over the last several years really emphasizes the importance of optimizing for these SERP features like feature snippets, local packs, knowledge panels, to help maintain your visibility in the search engines, even if people aren't coming to your website. Now, according to an SEMrush zero-click study, 57% of mobile and roughly a quarter of desktop searches leave the search engine result page without clicking on an organic or paid result. So if you're looking at your organic traffic year over year and you're wondering why it's been dropping, or maybe it's for your clients, this could definitely be the culprit, sort of depending upon the kind of industry, kind of business that you may be dealing with. Because again, 57% of mobile searches get their answers right on Google search pages. They don't ever click on anything and dive deeper into a person's website. So we've got to be aware of this. We've got to figure out, well, how can we get our fair share of that 57%? And again, on a desktop, it's about a quarter of desktop searches. And in May of 2022, SEMrush ran a study in the US that identified that 24% of those desktop searches and 17% of mobile searches ended without a click. As you can see, that's gone up. But this is likely to continue to increase, especially now that Google, Bing, and other engines are integrating AI into their results. I'm just starting to see AI showing up on my desktop results for Google search experience, the search generative experience, which I've been seeing on my mobile desktop. So now you ask questions and AI is responding with answers. So this is really becoming something to be very focused on if you're in, especially if you're in the SEO business. And then if you have your own business that you're trying to get found, well, if more people are, coming to and finding answers on search without clicking on your desktop, well, without clicking on your website, and you've got to figure out what you can do to get found in that spot. So searches may not click on results in the search results pages for lots of reasons, right? Sometimes you search for things like quick conversions or calculators. Maybe you want to know, USD to euro conversions, right? Or maybe you want to know miles to kilometer conversion. You just go, hey, Google, how much is, 20 US dollars in euros, right? Or how much is 20 euros in US dollars? How many kilometers, how many miles are in 10 kilometers? And Google provides these quick conversion tools right on the search results. So you never have to go to someone's website that's got some kind of a calculator to do this for you. Things that refer to public or celebrity information, right? If you're searching for a particular movie name or a particular actor or actress, for example, or musician, again, often it's going to yield a knowledge panel that provides basic information about that celebrity, like their age, their occupation, maybe some notable works, and so on. And then, of course, the one that you're probably most interested in is probably one of the most valuable things that show up are local businesses or services, right? Because Google often provides the necessary information like the location, contact details, the business hours, right in the local pack or the map pack without you needing to actually go to the website to find the information. So if you were to go query pizza places near me, right, that might display a map or a list of restaurants with ratings and hours directly in the results. And you can say, oh, hey, the place you're looking for, it's open, or you can even, click a button to call them, but you never actually visit their website. So these are kind of, zero-click searches, and people aren't going any further than that, really. And these types of searches, they commonly result in that zero click. And so Google's enhanced SERP features like knowledge panels, like your local packs, and direct conversion tools like the Euro, weather, airlines, miles to kilometers, all that stuff immediately satisfy the searcher, the user's intent by providing concise and precise answers so users can get the info they want without having to click on any kind of a result. All right. So definitely important to understand that. Some other examples of zero-click searches include weather forecast. I mean, I do this all the time. I go to Google and, hey, Google, give me an hour-by-hour forecast in, my town, right, or Land O'Lakes. Or just type weather today. And all of a sudden, you get the local weather widget showing up in the search results, and you're not going to weather.com, or you're not going to AccuWeather.com. You're not going to your local news source or news television station, for example, with their weather. This doesn't happen. Definitions, right? If you ask Google to define something, they're going to show a definition without requiring you a click to go to dictionary.com or something like that. And calculations, right? Just do a search for what's 15% of 200. Give you an answer right on the search results. So again, we're using Google and other engines like Bing as well to get answers, but we're not diving into a website and not going into a URL and finding more information in a lot of situations, a lot of instances. Now, as this becomes more common and as more types of information, Google will be answering for us, again, with that Google search generative experience where they're using their AI right at the top to answer your questions that maybe even aren't related to the things we're talking about, it's going to become more common. And so we have to optimize our website for these queries in essential to enhance its visibility by doing things to our website and working on different areas to get found with those zero-click searches. At least we can start to get our information out there, begin to build some of our branding. We'll talk more about that. So let's talk about our zero-click search tips and strategies. So first, before we get into those strategies, just kind of giving you some basics of what you might find, right, for these zero-click results. So here, like, what are featured snippets? Right there is a featured snippet. This is also sometimes called position 0. It's right at the top. The answer is sitting right there. And for many of us, it's good enough. We got our answer. We leave. If you wanted a little bit more detailed information, you might go ahead and click on the link that's displayed. But a lot of times we ask the question, we got our answer, we're done, we move on. You may also see things like people also ask, right? These are additional questions that come up based upon what's in this question here. And so we want to be able to kind of, can we get our people also ask question laid out there? Here's a dictionary, right? So actually ask for a dictionary for, what is a search engine? And we get an answer. Here we can see within an actual organic result, for this case, a recipe, we can see that there was 16 votes. It takes 3 hours to cook. Here for this pot roast, we've got, again, the ratings, the hour. We have site links to other pages of the site, other pages on that website. Again, these things don't show up or are very difficult to show up, especially like these ratings and things, unless you're doing things in a certain way. We'll talk more about those ways. Of course, local pack here, right, where someone's looking for a business, they can get to the business, they can find the number, they can see like if they're open, when they close, right? A lot of times you might look for a business's name just to see if they're open, right? Or maybe you want to click on the, click to call button. That's also there. And then over on sometimes on the right-hand side in desktop search, you'll get what's called a knowledge graph, where you have information about a company, maybe you see its logo, information about where they're located, maybe some phone numbers, founders, you can see a bunch of stuff, even like in this case for Tesla, the different models, right? And then the profiles of where you can find them in social. So all of these are basically, or many of them are zero-click results. You don't need to go anywhere to get the information. This one's a little different here, but the rest of them are really more those zero-click results. Hey, thanks so much for spending some of your time today with me learning all about SEO. But did you know that I don't just teach SEO? In fact, for over 25 years now, I've owned and run a national SEO and digital marketing agency. So if you're watching this video thinking, hey Steve, I love what you're saying, but I could really use some help with this, well, don't worry, I got you covered. Whether you need ongoing monthly SEO services like help with your Google business profile or with your social media marketing, maybe you're looking for some link building, or maybe you just need someone to help clean up the technical junk that's slowing you down, well, I can take you on as a client and get things working just right. Now, if you're not looking for monthly services, but you still have questions, maybe you're looking for answers on why your site's not performing as you're expecting it to, and you want to talk with an expert in the field. Maybe you've got an in-house marketing team already, but they're looking for some direction or they've got some questions. In either case, I offer hourly SEO consulting, and I can work directly with you or your team on site or remotely to provide the knowledge and the game plan needed for you guys to succeed. And I've done this for everybody from small startup companies to large national and even multinational companies. I've been teaching people how to get real results for years, and it's truly what I love to do. But hey, if you're more of a DIY kind of person like I am, well, I've got something for you too. In fact, it's called Steve Scott's SEO All-Stars. And it's my on-demand, binge-watchable SEO training platform with over 80 hours of video, more coming every day. And it's got training courses that include real-world strategies to help you understand SEO and do it the right way. So, whether you need hands-on SEO help, custom consulting, or you just want to learn SEO at your own pace, I've got the perfect option for you. So why don't you go ahead and check the link in the description, book a free consultation, and let's talk about how I can help you level up your digital marketing game. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps go a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's get you back to the video. So let's talk first about targeting some of these featured snippets, these kind of things at the top. So featured snippets are that prime real estate on the search engine results page, often provide the answer users seek in those zero-click searches. And we often call this position zero. That's this thing up here. You sometimes call it an answer box as well, but it's a featured snippet. They're typically short excerpts of text that appear on somebody's website, right? But Google is pulling them on and showing them on the screen without the user having to go to the website. And so they're typically short, appear at the top of the Google search results, and they can appear as a list, a table, some text, and sometimes they'll even have like an accompanying image or video. You can kind of see here, I cut it off, there's a little video right there, so image right there kind of showing what it looks like as well. And these are more likely to appear when users are entering informational search queries, as they provide users with a quick answer to their search query, and thereby they get the answer they need. They don't need to click further along. Now, you want to try to aim to get your website featured in these coveted answer box at the top of the search results. I've got three quick graphics here that I pulled off of this SEOclarity.net post, which is really interesting. It's a whole thing about these Google answers, right? And these answer boxes. And of course, a lot of times when you ask these questions, you see 15% are Wikipedia, right? WebMD, another 2.5%, all recipes, Mayo Clinic, a lot of health stuff in here, a lot of shopping stuff in here, some video stuff in here, but all in, it's a big ratio here. You can also see here that many of the answer boxes pop when you ask a physical question, right? Notice that questions that begin with the word how are about 12.5% of the questions that make up those answer boxes showing up. What 7.4% and so on. And then here are those starter words. How to, right? You also see how do, how much, how many. That's why how is 12%, because it's kind of adding all those up. So these people, people are searching for stuff saying, how do I do this? What is this? How much does this cost? What does this mean? What are, these things? And so these starter words tend to generate an answer box. Now keep this in mind as we begin to move down throughout this content that we're going to cover and talk about some of the information. We'll come back to this, okay? But this is important to understand because those answers that you see at the top, like we saw in the previous slide right here, this is an answer to what are featured snippets, right? There's my answer. And then again here, what are is, 0.7% of those answer boxes. So super important. Now, here's how to increase your chances of appearing in those featured snippets. So first thing is you have to identify the common queries, right? You need to research popular questions that are related to your niche or your industry. So we're not doing quote unquote keyword research here. We're doing question research, right? We also want to research popular keywords that have a high zero-click potential and then tailor your content on your website to provide the most relevant answer in a format suitable for that snippet. We'll talk more about that, what's suitable in a bit. Tools like Google Search Console and a cool tool called Answer the Public can help you find these queries. In fact, Answer the Public will provide you with a whole list of questions people ask related to a keyword phrase that you're looking for. So you can go to the Answer the Public, you can type in a keyword phrase that you want to get found for, and it will spit back out lots of questions that people are asking about your topic area. And then by identifying these common questions, you can do the next thing, which is create high quality content. So you want to develop content that succinctly answers these questions that we know people are looking for. And you want to focus on delivering clear, concise, and valuable information. And that's a big one. They're valuable, right? Don't just copy and paste something somebody else wrote. Make sure it's clear, make sure it's concise, make sure it's valuable, has good, valuable information. And focus on creating well-structured content on your website so that it's got good headings, H1s, H2, subheadings, bullet points for easy readability by the engines. Something else you want to do is to structure your content, right? You want to match the format of featured snippets by using lists, by using tables, by using well-structured, organized paragraphs. Make sure it's easy to read and understand for your users. You don't have to make it overcomplicated unless, you're literally discussing rocket science, right? You just kind of keep it mild, keep it easy to read. And then you also want to use structured data to make it easy for Google to interpret your content the way you want them to. We'll talk a bit more about structured data in a bit. I've done whole sessions just on structured data, what's out there, why you need it as well. So we're not really going to cover the details of structured data here, but be aware that it is a valuable tool in getting some of those featured snippets because it helps Google and the other engines understand your content and interpret it better. You want to optimize your existing content, right? Review and revise whatever current content you may have on your website to better align with these featured snippet requirements, right? You want to get those headings, get those questions, get those queries in there. And that can involve reformatting your text. If you've just got a lot of long form, a lot of paragraphs, and you're not using bullet points, you're not using multiple headings, you're not using sort of short paragraphs, short text, and highlighting key information, well, it could maybe be keeping you from getting those featured listings. Let's talk about rich snippets and direct answers now, okay? So to grab that coveted position 0 at the top, you got to begin by crafting the content optimized for specific answer-oriented keywords, right? So we're looking for keywords that result in somebody needing an answer, right? We're looking for a search term, a question, right? And by placing the answer to the query at the beginning of the content, and then follow it up with detailed explanation. So you want to be sure to answer the user's question comprehensively within the first paragraph of your content, ideally in under 150 words. Now, I even see this on like YouTube videos. You ever go to like a YouTube video about a topic you're looking for, and like the first maybe 15, 20 seconds is the person talking about what they're going to talk about that day? And then they give like a little mini intro, and then they get into the actual topic. And so this is kind of the same thing. You want to sort of introduce your content with the answer at the top in a very basic, concise, format, and then get into the details of the of the information you're trying to provide. So remember, have a clear structure. Use those headings, the subheadings, bullet points to organize your content. Use headings that mirror those common search queries. So again, it's a great idea. We see a lot more of this these days. Those heading tags, those H2s, H3s, H1s, whatever, we're actually using questions that are being looked for as those headings. So you're mirroring them. So if someone types in a question and you've used your structured data to say, here's a heading, and the heading has the question in it, and you've got that concise answer right below, well, you've got a shot at getting that featured snippet up there. Have detailed information. So you do want to provide thorough answers to common questions related to your industry, but again, you want to initially provide a quick, concise, clear response, and then get into the details, right? That detailed content helps the engines understand and rank your pages better because you put in all that valuable content, valuable information. Also, use multimedia content, right? Enhance your long form, detailed content with images, with videos, maybe some infographics, anything that you can help make it more engaging and more visually appealing for your users, right? Because if users engage with your content, they look at your content, they read it, they spend more time on your website when they do go there, or if somebody does get that featured snippet, they may click through to get more detailed information. So I know we're talking, zero-click searches, but it doesn't mean people aren't going to want more detailed information at some point. And you want to optimize for those rich results. Rich results like recipes, product listings, or just your local business can appear with enhanced visuals right on the search results pages. So use your structured data markup to qualify for rich results like recipes, products, event schedules. If you're an airline, maybe it's for flight times. If you've got like a job description, there's job structured data that you could use. And we'll talk more about where you can get that information in just a moment. But that structured data markup improves your site's eligibility for those rich results. Without them, you're really going to have a hard time getting ranked. With them, it gives you a lot more potential to get into those featured areas, and it makes your content more attractive to the engines and more accessible to the users. So like I said, even if they're not coming into the website, they can still see your brand name, they can still see your URL and so on. Now here's a big one, right? Local SEO and zero-click searches. So by improving your local SEO, you can effectively optimize for local zero-click searches, capture more local search traffic. So first thing is your local packs and the Google Maps, right? That's where you do a search and you get the 3-pack. If I were to go to Google here, let me go over there. There we go. Let me go here. And I want to type in here, just like pizza place near me. Okay. There's my local pack, right? This is my map pack. Now, if I'm on a mobile phone, it's going to look different, of course. Maybe I could just hit the click to call button. Maybe I'm going to see the pizza pie. Well, they're closed. They it opens at 11 a.m. Thursday. And that's weird. See, that's a weird thing right there. It says they're closed right now. Opens 11 a.m. Thursday. Well, hey, it's 12 to maybe, I don't know why they'd be closed on a Wednesday, but maybe they are. Don't know. So again, if I was going to go to the pizza pie, I wouldn't, right? I'd say they're closed. So, or maybe I would call to see if that's correct or not. But this is really the local stuff that comes up with the map pack. And of course, you can click on more places, and now you're going to get the map pack, right? You see the map and all the places. When I click on these things here, it'll show me information about them, right? If I click on that, I can get the hours. It looks like they're closed Monday. Oddly enough, looks Wednesday, closed on Wednesday. So they are closed Wednesday. That's their day off, I guess, right? So those often appear in the zero-click results, and they can definitely help you get found, or someone's looking for the kind of business you offer. That's a local business. They can find you better. Now, in order to get that, well, you have to have a Google business profile. You have to claim and optimize your Google business profile listing in order for, it's essential, honestly, for local SEO. It's not just going to show up. You have to go ahead and claim it so you have access and control over it. And you can put your proper information in there, put your hours. In fact, you see here, they said Memorial Day, they're closed. They have a specialty snippet in their content saying, hey, we're closed on Memorial Day. So you definitely want to get your local listing in there. You can get it at going to business.google.com. We'll have the link a little bit later on for you. And then you want to optimize it, right? You want to make sure that your address, your phone number, your business hours are all accurate and up to date, like we see the Pizza Pie did, right? Their hours are up to date. They put in information about Memorial Day hours. Of course, add high quality photos. Make sure you're responding to customer reviews. And we've talked, very much in depth about local and Google business profiles in a bit. We've actually got a masterclass coming up in the next couple of months on Google business profiles. Keep an eye out for that. But again, you've got to get in there, got to claim your listing, optimize it, make sure all the information you can possibly give to Google is available to them so that you have the best shot at showing up in that map pack, either here or, back at the 3-pack that you find here. Okay. In addition, you want to try to maintain your NAP consistency. NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. So make sure that information, your company name, your address, your phone number, your hours of operation, make sure it's accurate and make sure it's consistent, not just on your Google Business Profile, but on your website, on your various social media profiles, maybe other online platforms that you might be in as well, because you want that consistency. Because remember, Google indexes all of it. They see all of it. And you want to make sure that Google can understand and index it and doesn't get conflicted by what they're finding in other places. In addition, think about this. Many of the listing sites, let's say for Yelp, for example, some others like it, they may be using structured data on their site for your name and your address and your phone number. And if for some reason your website doesn't have it or is missing it or is inconsistent, Google may say, well, don't know which one is accurate, so I'm not going to show it. So maintain that consistency, not just for name, address, and phone number, but hours of operation, other information as well. Of course, you need to encourage customer reviews, right? Ask your satisfied customers to leave reviews on your GBP profile to help enhance your local search ranking. The more reviews you've got, especially if they're high quality, high-end reviews, 5-star reviews in particular, if you have a lot more than your nearest competitor, you're likely going to have a better shot at ranking over somebody. If you're just getting started with a new one, you're just getting your reviews, make it a priority to get some reviews, but don't send like a mass email out to everybody asking everybody to leave a review. You don't want to had no reviews, then get like 50 reviews, and then get like no reviews. You want to be consistent. It should be sort of a slow roll, a slow, consistent buildup. So if you're not going to be able to get, let's for argument's sake, say 5 a month, right? 1 a week maybe. Well, don't send out messages to get 10 of them. Maybe ask a couple people week 1, ask a few more people week 2, ask a few more people week 3. Just kind of build them. And then as you're running your business, as you come across new clients, as you do more work with them, ask for reviews. You probably are all seeing little QR codes in local places. I know I was at a dentist the other day, and there was a little, little 8 by 10 picture on the countertop when I was checking out. Had a QR code that said, please leave us a review, and you can click the QR code and you can go leave a review. I encourage you to get customer reviews. Those are great ways. Do it when you're with the customer or when the customer's nearby. Ask them for it. Give them a way to get to that and make it easier. And of course, use local keywords as well, and incorporate your geographical terms, your city names, maybe some landmarks that are well known. Maybe you're talking about areas, like for example, like Central Florida. I'm just throwing out a big one there. There is no city called Central Florida, but people might be looking for a place to stay in Central Florida, right? So you want to make sure you get those geographical terms within there. If you're a tri-state area, if you're in the New York metro area, the tri-state area is New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. So you might want to say, hey, we service the tri-state area if you're up in that area. And then also make sure that you build that into your website content, into maybe your meta tags, just to help improve that local visibility. And again, those location-specific keywords also can be added into your content meta tags. The Tampas, the St. Pete's, the Clearwaters. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, add those in as well where it makes sense. You're not shoving them all in. It's got to make sense. You want to write good quality content and get those keywords into the places on your website so that Google can see that they're consistently the same on your website and your Google Business Profile and help you with local. Let's talk about optimizing knowledge panels for zero-click searches, all right? So the knowledge panel is what you see on the right-hand side. That's that Tesla thing I showed you earlier. This can show up for many different ways. If I were to go and just type in a company, I'll put like Steve Scott SEO, right? It's the name of the company. And then down here, because I can, this is my profile. There is some pictures, my company name, my address, phone number, when I'm open. Additional bit, here's some information about the products that I have. It's going to look a little different for me because I can actually edit some of this stuff. Here's some of my updates as far as what we could do. You can see a few different updates here about things going on. My reviews are showing up here as well. The profiles are here. And then people also search. So again, I control this, right? I am going in here. We're adding these things. We're adding our products. We're adding these updates. We're making sure our hours and everything are accurate and available and making sure that everything can be accessible to search. And we're doing those same things back on our website too. So increase your website's authority. That's one of the ways to help build your knowledge panel and give you a better shot at showing up, right? This is just by boosting your authority, generally by obtaining backlinks from reputable sources. This will enhance trust signals to the search engines as well. And authority and trust are two of the elements in Google's EEAT, experience and expertise, as well as authoritativeness and trustworthiness. And you build the authority and trustworthy by getting backlinks from reputable sources, right? Do those interviews, get on those podcasts, do things with others that can spread the word and link back to you and so on. You also, besides increasing website authority, for that knowledge panel, you want to maintain consistent branding, right? Ensure those branding elements like your logos, your slogans, your color schemes, that they're uniform across your website and all other online profiles. So make sure that your logo, if you've changed your logo, well, make sure that you change it everywhere, right? Make sure it's on your Instagram and your Facebook and your YouTube and your LinkedIn. Just make sure they're all consistent, because consistency in your business information, like your name, just phone number, and so on, across all platforms also builds trust and it builds recognition, right? You begin to see that logo, you begin to see those colors, see those names across multiple platforms. And the more touches that people see as they're browsing around, the more you become knowledgeable, the more people become knowledgeable about who you are and what you do. So you want to optimize for this entity recognition. Doing that, we can do it using organization and local business schema markup on your website. Helps the engines understand your brand, because an organization, you can tell them what your URL, what your logo is. You can also help for local. You can talk about what your other properties are, like your Twitter and your Instagram and so on properties are. And they can then recognize your business as a distinct entity, and in your knowledge panel, they can add that information. So provide detailed company information, maybe include your history, your background, services you provide, your contact details. All of that will improve your entity recognition by the search engines, make them feel more trustworthy about what they're putting in here. You can even see like founded by, revenue, like all this stuff is very valuable for a user who happens to run across it to see what you do, when you do it, how long you've been doing it, and so on. Okay. Let's talk about using schema now for better search zero-click potential. So schema or schema markup can help you enhance your content's understanding. This schema markup, sometimes called structured data, helps the engines grasp the context of your content, thereby boosting your chances of appearing in those rich snippets, knowledge panels, and the other SERP features that we took a look at early on. So you want to implement the relevant schema types. These use this schema markup for various content types such as organization, local business, articles, products, events, reviews, and then provides the engines with specific context and increasing visibility. Here, let me show you that I actually have the gallery. Let me open it up here. I have this link in the material in a minute. The Google Search Gallery. So this is Google's structured data markup gallery. And these are the different items that Google marks up. So like if you have an article, right, a news, a sports, or a blog article, you can get some structured data so that you have a shot at showing up somewhere in the carousel for news. If you have a book that you're selling or that you offer, that you've written, you can put that up there and it can potentially show up here. If you have a course info, if you have a forum, if you have a Q&A, an employer rating, an estimated salary for a job, an event that you're going to be throwing or appearing at, an FAQ, an image metadata, right? We all have images, so there's metadata for that. A job posting, there's metadata on that. Structured rich snippets for that. Each of these things you want to go, here's your local business that can help you with your local listing. It can help with your knowledge panel. If you have a movie that you created or something, or your organization is great for helping with the knowledge panel, other visual elements, and this can all help you. So again, I'm not here to teach you this. I've actually done a whole thing on structured data. It's actually in our membership program. You'll find that whole area on there, really covering it pretty extensively. So, but you need to use it, right? You want to go ahead and use this information here. And then once you've used it, you want to validate that it's correct, right? You want to use Google tools like Google's rich results test to ensure that's correctly implemented and functioning properly. So for example, if I go to this rich results test, I'll type in here. So this is my my agency website. I'm going to do that one first. It's been around a little bit longer. It takes a moment as it goes out to your website, looks at the content and the information on the page, and it comes back. So I've got a local business. It says 2 valid items, and there's a non-critical issue. If I click on that, it's got my 2 locations. I've got my physical location where I do the training, and I've got a location that's like my mailing address, okay? I've got that. If I go back to the test results, I have an organization. And I've got, again, 2 organizations here explaining where they're located. The URL looks like I'm missing the country address, and that's an optional one. I'm not really don't care about that one. And then here I've also got a different one, which is the local business and the postal address and so on. So I've got 2 different things I'm using there for the organization. So rich results can test to see if you have any issues, any errors, and you can go ahead and use that pretty easily. You can also run it on your competitors, right? If I go and type in, or anybody for that matter, if I wanted to see like what a competitor was using, now this is not a competitor, but I'm gonna just put Tesla.com. Let's see what we get. Now remember, this information that you see here is not visible to users, and it doesn't look like they have any on their homepage. Again, it might not be Tesla, it might be www.tesla.com. Let's see. I'll put it in there properly. Yeah, they're using www, and that could impact things. So let's try this one more time and just see what they're using. So like I said, you can put your competitors in here. You can put someone that's ranking really well to see what they're using or how they're doing it. You can look at multiple people in here. So this is not limited to only you. You don't need to get access to this tool. It's a free tool. You can look at anybody's thing. And yeah, no, they don't use any structured data. And you're like, well, how they get it then? How they get, well, they're Tesla. What I mean by that is they got millions of people linking to them, millions of stories out there that talk about them, millions of links to them. And in fact, if you look at their domain authority from a month, it's a 90, which is super high, super high. So the more authority you have, the more trusted you are, the more likely you're going to be able to get all of the various functionality and features out of Google. So how do you do that? Well, you got to build your authority. We talked about it a little bit earlier. So by implementing structured data for FAQs, for how-tos, for products, and all the other things I showed you in the gallery, you provide the engines with additional context about your content, improving the likelihood, not definite, right? You're still competing against others that are doing it as well, but you improve the potential likelihood of appearing in those rich results, like the carousels and the knowledge panels and the other items that are out there. All right, let's move on to content is king, but user intent is queen, okay? So let's talk about that. Content's still going to be your biggest factor in getting those zero-click results, okay? You want to create high-quality, comprehensive content. And that's the big word there, comprehensive. Zero-click searches often pull information from within well-researched and detailed content. It's not like it used to be where you Google pull your description or they pull something else. Now, they can pull information from anywhere on your page as long as it's valuable to the users. So create high-quality content that directly answers users' queries in a clear and concise manner. Focus on creating comprehensive guides, comprehensive tutorials, in-depth articles about whatever topic you're writing about that go on your website. Cover topics thoroughly. Address all, the who, what, where, when, why, and how when you're writing this stuff. Make sure that you're addressing the user's intent as well. What do they want to know? Someone types in that question. What do they hope to gain? What's the information that's most important to them? What are they trying to do when they type in that question that you can provide the answers to? And what can you give them that's so awesome that they're like, wow. And we've all gone to a place and read an article, and we're like, wow, this is exactly what this is amazing. And you may even get to the point where like, I love it so much, I'm going to click on it, or I'm going to share it on social. Or like for me, like I find articles all the time. What do? I link them in my presentations. Nobody asked me for a link, right? They didn't come, hey, Steve, could you link to our present, in front of your presentation, can you link to? No, what happened? They created a great, awesome piece of content that I ran into, and I went, wow, this is so good. I want to let others know about it. That's what you're trying to do for yourself as well. If you can create super awesome content that really understands what your users are looking for and what their intent is behind looking for that. And you provide them with the great guide, a tutorial, or in-depth article, and you cover that topic thoroughly, addressing their intent, providing insights and research and data wherever you can. And you've used clear language and lots of bullet points and great formatting and made it easy to read with headings and subheadings and indentations and all sorts of great stuff. Well, it's going to make your users happier. It's going to make them more interested. It's going to make them stick around a bit more. And it's going to make the engines more likely to pull some of that, provide that content to users because they see other users have loved what they've seen when they get there. So remember, you want to understand the user intent to create that effective content. Know your users. Identify the purpose behind their search queries to know what information your users are truly seeking, okay? And that's the thing. Don't write what you think. You've got to write from your customer's perspective. What do they want? What are their needs? And provide those direct answers to them. Craft your content so it directly addresses their users' needs with clear and concise answers. Make sure you structure that content for better readability. I've kind of mentioned a couple of times throughout. Use bullet points, use numbered lists, use headings, use short paragraphs, lots of white space, lots of line spacing. And by doing that, you create well-structured content aimed at specific queries that you know that your users are searching for. Ensure that there's clarity and conciseness with your content, right? Focus on clarity. Make it easy to scan and understand. Because a lot of us, we don't read from top to bottom anymore, right? We kind of scan down. And that's why you want to have short paragraphs, lots of headings and subheadings, lots of indented images, because they catch your attention as you're rolling down. You go, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? And so as people are skimming, you can grab their attention. They see that question that they want to know more about in the heading. They see that image. They go, oh, what's this? They see a graph or something else that makes them stop and take a look. So ensure that you're doing this as well. And remember to address those common queries, right? Identify those frequent questions, the literal FAQs that are related to your niche, and provide direct answers using structured formats above for better readability. And again, if I go back over to the structured data markup, there is an FAQ structured data, right? This shows you here what to do, how to put answer, question and answer, question and answer. And then if you go, there's a great tool, structured. Find this one. Here we go. TechnicalSEO.com. They have a great tool. So if you don't know how to do the code or you don't know how to do the structure, all you got to do is come here. Look, there's an FAQ page, right? I'm just going to put question 1. I'm going to put, here is my answer to question 1, right? And then I can go add another one, right? And I'll go Q2, A2 for answer. And look, it actually builds the content I need, right? This looks like this. Schema, FAQ page, question, answer, right? Schema, FAQ page, question, answer. It's right there. I don't need to know code. Don't know how to program. And again, if you're using WordPress, there's lots of tools out there that you can use. I mentioned a few of them in a few, but there's tools out there to help you with this, to build this. You don't need to know how to be a programmer to put this stuff into use. Now, you also want to be looking at diversifying your digital presence. All right. What we mean by that is your zero-click optimization isn't limited to just your website alone. Okay. You want to expand your digital footprint, leverage social media platforms to share valuable content. Many of the social platforms use structured data when you add your information. Create YouTube videos, podcasts, infographics that are related to your niche. Make them interesting, engaging. People can find them. People can like them. They can share them. They can embed them and so on. They can listen to them. Participate in relevant forums and communities. We're seeing more and more Reddit and Quora and these other forums are really becoming very popular with Google because it's the users interacting with one another. It's so funny how 10, 12 years ago, actually the beginning, the dawn of the internet were these, user forums, these places where people talked. They disappeared. Google didn't like them anymore. and all of a sudden they're kind of coming back. So participate, be relevant in these forums, in those communities, be a part of these communities and these forums online so people can see your name, see your recognition, recognize your company. Collaborate with other influencers, industry experts to amplify your reach. Even if they're local influencers, talk to people, do interviews with people, ask people to, if you can interview them, and then you guys can share that, right? You can share your, if you're on a podcast, the person whose podcast you're on can share it with their audience, and you can let people know that you're on that podcast, so your audience can see that podcast, and now they know about the podcaster, the podcaster's audience knows about you. It's win-win. You become more of an influencer yourself. Remember, it's no longer just about having a website, it's about having a web presence and being discovered wherever your users are. So if your users are on Reddit, or they're on Quora, or they're on Facebook, or wherever, LinkedIn, you need to be there too. Be a participant, be available. Some additional tips as well. Mobile optimization. You got to make sure your website's mobile friendly, as many zero-click searches occur on the mobile device. So when they come into your site, you don't want to have a crappy site. When you get there, it reduces your branding. Make sure your site is fast, right? Improve that load speed to enhance user experience and your ranking potential. Google's also looking at page speed as a valuable piece of information. And if they don't think your site is good enough or has bad user interface, or not user interface, but is just not meeting expectations when a user gets there, they're less likely to show you. Engagement, again, increase user engagement with those interactive elements like videos and infographics and other interactive tools where they can kind of work with the site, or they sit around to watch a video. They spend more time on the site as they're watching the video, or they're looking at your infographic and seeing all the information, or you've got some kind of interactive tool where they're calculating, their what their insurance is going to be, and so on. Make sure you have calls to action written out as well. So within your answers that you're putting out there, you want to subtly integrate some call to action that entices the user to visit your website or for further information, for exclusive offers, or other related products. Be consistent with updates, right? You want to regularly update your content to keep it relevant and accurate. So you want to go back onto old content, maybe make sure it's current, it's up to date, it's got more value. We're doing a lot more of this recently for our long-standing clients and ones that have been around for a long time, just in general. We're going back and looking at all their blog content, all their stuff, and seeing, well, what's the length of the content? Is it really short? Was it just built for search engines, or was it really built for users? Is there stuff that's on there that's kind of not really topically relevant? Can we just get rid of that junk? Kind of almost like, if you think, I always say, think about your website like a magazine, and every web page should be a different article in your magazine. And just like in a magazine, no two articles are the same. Each article is unique and interesting and different about what that particular item is. And each page of your website should be unique and interesting and have a focus of what it's about. And so if you stop publishing a magazine, you're out of business. If you stop doing consistent updates to your website, you're basically also going to be kind of out of business. Google's going to say, well, you're not doing anything. It's just sitting there. You're not doing anything. Well, they're not going to be, willing to put you up there because you're not offering great information, relevant, ongoing information to users. So why should they put you ahead of someone that is doing that? And of course, you got to do your keyword research, right? Identify those long tail keywords and question-based queries that your target audience is likely to be searching for. Remember, zero-click results can still build brand awareness. So focus on brand building. More and more and more, I am seeing, and others are seeing, and we're seeing this in general, the search queries that are bringing people to a website, they're looking for the company. They're looking for the brand name. So optimize your website's title tags, meta descriptions with relevant keywords, and to ensure that your brand appears in search. Even with zero-click results, a high rank on a search results page with a compelling title tag and a meta description can still drive brand awareness and encourage users to visit your site directly if they want more information. Again, complementary content, something else here. While the answer might be displayed within the search results in that zero-click area, well, you might want more detail. Maybe that's good. It's a basic answer, but you want more. You want to learn more. And so those people may click through, look at that in-depth content, helps them dive deeper into the topic, like blog posts or explainer videos, just to capture those users' interest, drive traffic, and again, keep building that brand. And again, complementary traffic sources. So while direct clicks to your site from the search engines might be decreasing because of this zero click, focusing on driving traffic through other channels, like your social media channels, like your email campaigns and so on, or other paid advertising for that matter, can be a complementary traffic source. And a strong brand presence can lead users to search for your company directly, bypassing the need for organic clicks altogether because they know who you are and they want to work with you. Now, here's a few useful tools. I'm not going to read them all, but I've got links here to Google Search Console, which can help you monitor your performance, track impressions and clicks, and look at your featured snippets that you may have available. It can be used for identifying, optimizing content that can trigger zero-click searches. You just go to search.google.com/search-console about will get you started. Of course, Google Business Profiles. You got to create, claim, and or optimize your local business listing. You could do that by going and visiting business.google.com. The Google Search Gallery is the gallery I was showing you over here, right? Which is all of this stuff here. And this is really the thing you want to be looking for. You want to go through this. I tell everybody whenever I show this, go through this. Look at the information it shows and figure out, do I offer that? If I offer that, I want to make sure I'm using the structured data on the right page in the right way. And I'm going to go to the rich results and test it to make sure it's working and everything looks good and Google understands it. If I do that, it's a much better option there. Of course, you need some kind of good tools. SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz all have the ability to search for your keywords, find other zero-click searches. Many of them will even say which particular featured snippet shows for a keyword phrase. So you could actually do your keyword research, but see which of those words or phrases trigger a featured snippet, a knowledge graph, local listing, or whatever. So all three of those have different, variations that you can look at, different levels. But basically, they can all help you track what's going on, track rankings, check your zero-click searches, and so on. And I've got some other tools here as well, like schema.org, which is the huge, the overall arching set of structured data, whereas the Google Gallery is the Google version. It's kind of the scaled-down version of schema.org that Google's focused on. You've got tools like Bright Local and Local Falcon to help you manage your local SEO tools. If you're using like WordPress, you can use plugins like Yoast SEO, Rank Math, All-in-One SEO, Squirrely. There's many others out there to help you with your on-page SEO. Can also assist with schema markup, structured data, and other content optimization. There's another good WordPress plugin called Schema Pro. Schema Pro is strictly related to putting out this the schema onto various pages of your website. And you've got tools like SimilarWeb.com, and then of course Answer the Public, which can help you discover common questions related to things. And then some conclusions on zero-click search results. Look, zero-click optimization is primarily about your content and the use of structured data. Focusing on making that really valuable content that aligns with user intent can really improve your chance of appearing in zero-click results while enhancing overall visibility and conversion potential, and using structured data for better search engine understanding. Zero-click optimization is an ongoing process, right? By continuously producing informative content, optimizing it with structured data for those featured snippets, leveraging rich results, you can increase your site's visibility, or the potential visibility, and attract users even in that zero-click environment. And remember that SEO is also a continuous process. Regularly monitor your site's performance and user behavior, meaning things like pages per visit, time on site, bounce rates, things like that, and then adapt your strategy to have an ongoing success in this evolving landscape of zero-click searches. So while these zero-click searches might initially be decreasing clicks to your website directly, and you may be seeing that if you've been around for a while, you'll be seeing a decline in clicks to your website, a strong presence in those results boosts your brand awareness and builds your trust. Optimizing for a balance of website clicks and zero-click visibility by creating high-quality content that compels users to visit your website to get more data, more info, or to complete some action is going to be valuable. You can keep monitoring and changing your strategy as the engine's algorithms and your user behaviors evolve as well. And then by implementing the various tips and leveraging the provided tools that we discussed today, you'll be able to enhance your website's zero-click search optimization, improve your brand visibility, and ultimately drive more conversions to your website. And that's really it, folks. I do have some additional resources here. I do include the rich results test, the structured data gallery that we talked about here, and a bunch of studies, zero-click studies, other queries on the answers, what changes are going to be coming down the pipe because of this, a guide to zero-click search, a whole bunch of really good articles if you really want to get more in-depth into it. Let me take a look at the questions here if anybody had. I see one says, let's say my website has the 10th position in Google for an information query. Will adding markup help it to move up higher? So again, all of these markup is the potential to move up higher, right? If you don't have great content, if your site is slow, if you've got a lot of thin content, broken links, broken URLs, well, probably not. But if you're at the 10th spot and you are adding some markup and you've got a quality website, you've got some quality content, then yes, the potential to move up is there. I would never say it definitely will. There's too many other varying factors, too many other, what industry are you in, how many competitors are you are, what's your locality, where you locate? Are you in New York City? Are you in a suburb in the middle of New York State? Are you in the middle of Florida? Are you in, Miami? All of those factors are going to come into play. But yes, by adding in your markup, you have a much better chance or potential to be getting found and moving up higher. Absolutely. All right. I don't see any other questions. So again, thank you all for joining me today for zero-click search optimization tips, tricks, and techniques. Hope you found it valuable.